Good afternoon and welcome to the Cox Spotlight. We are thrilled you guys can join us today. We've got a wonderful afternoon planned filled with students and faculty and administrators here from the Cox School. My name is Jim Bryan. I'm the Associate Dean of BBA Programs here at the Cox School, and we're absolutely thrilled to have you join us today. We're going to talk about a lot of great things today. We're going to learn a lot about the Cox School. We're going to kind of walk you through your 4 years here as we discuss all the various aspects of our academic programs and what our students do. We're going to talk about our majors, all the things that you can study in the Cox School. We're going to hear from some of our students who are going to be talking about their experiences here in their various majors and all the really great things that they've done here in the Cox School. We're going to hear from faculty, and then we're going to close out today with a conversation with the undergraduate, the BBA director of the Cox Career Management Center, Brandy Dalton. So I want to start today by talking a little bit about the various majors that we have in the Cox School and all the things that you can study. And we're going to hear from faculty in each of these departments. We're going to talk a lot with our faculty today about finance, accounting, marketing, management, real estate, and the Cox School's newest major, business analytics and supply chain management. But I also want to spend just a moment talking about a major that we have called general business. And I talk to a lot of prospective students who tell me that they want to study business, but for obvious reasons, they haven't had the classes in high school yet. They can't really articulate exactly what it is that they want to study yet. That totally makes complete sense to us. We understand why someone would be interested in business, but haven't really honed that specific choice down. And so a lot of students will tell me that they just want to study general business. And the reality is very, very few of our undergraduates actually complete a degree in general business. Most of our students come in and take classes in finance and accounting, marketing, management, and real estate, and hopefully soon to be business analytics. And usually sometime in late sophomore year or junior year, have really figured out what their specific major and their specific path is. But we do offer general business as a way for students to study a lot of different subjects in the Cox School, where you can take all of these subject areas and kind of craft your own path. It's also a great major for students who want to double major in something that might be a little bit trickier to double major in, like say engineering or something in any of the STEM fields where the curriculum is very linear and doesn't have as much flexibility. General business is by far our most flexible major. So we'll have a few students pursue that, and you can really create your own path and take whichever classes you want to satisfy that. But the majority of our students, actually about 90 to 95% each year, will study finance, accounting, marketing, management, or real estate, and again, soon to be business analytics and supply chain management. And so I want to start off today by having a conversation with our faculty members about these various degree programs. We have several faculty here who teach our undergraduates and have designed some really neat programs in the Cox School. First though, before we get to them, I want to briefly touch on one thing that you can do to add to your major. And these are things in the Cox School that we call concentrations. And a concentration is something, the way I would describe it, it's like a fine point that you can put on your degree. They're things that we specialize in, but are not exactly things that we necessarily want to have a major in. So for example, entrepreneurship is one concentration that students can pursue. And it's 4 additional classes that you can add on to your degree. And you know, we teach entrepreneurship maybe differently than some schools do. We teach entrepreneurship horizontally, not vertically. So the faculty in the entrepreneurship department would tell you, someone who doesn't understand the fundamentals of finance, accounting, marketing, and management is not really an entrepreneur yet. That person is just someone with an idea. And so you take all of the core classes that we offer, and then once you have developed skills in all of those main areas, you start taking the entrepreneurship courses like starting your own business and identifying entrepreneurial opportunities to help think about what startups you could invest in. And it's really a way to add that fine point to your degree. We also have a lot of students who are really interested in the energy field. And so we have additional classes that you can take if you wanted to go into the corporate side of energy. A lot of our students will go work in corporate oil and gas. We do have a lot of students that are interested in alternative energies as well. And we have a wonderful energy center where students can work, get professional development. They do a lot of very interesting professional development conferences and trips and seminars with people in that industry. Real estate is also a major, but it's also a concentration. So if you wanted to study something and also study real estate as a tool that you can put in your toolbox, that's certainly available to you as well. And the last one is risk management and insurance. And I think you should think about these concentrations kind of like minors, but they're a little bit smaller. They're ways to add things to your major. So you can say, well, I'm a finance major who also studies energy management, or I'm a marketing major who specializes in entrepreneurship. And a lot of our students will participate in these. They're optional, but they're 4 additional classes that you can add to any one of your majors. And if at the end of the day, what you've decided is, I really enjoyed hearing from all the people on the call today, but I think what I've decided is that I really want to maybe get a minor in business to add something onto my curriculum. We have that as well. We have a minor in business that students can do that's open to all students who are not majoring in the Cox School. It's 18 credits, which works out to 6 different classes, and it's a core of accounting, finance, marketing, and management. And then students get to take 2 additional classes in any other subject in which they've had their prereqs. So they can craft their path however it is that they like. And if they want to do something outside of the business school, but add this on, it's a great way to still get some business education in your curriculum, even if you're not actually a business major. Before we get to our faculty today, I also want to introduce 2 people that you're going to be hearing from a little bit later, Heather Clift and Olivia Trevino. Heather Clift and Olivia Trevino are our Associate Directors of Admission in the Cox School. Many of you have maybe already communicated with them and gotten to know them a little bit. They've been doing programs across the country. You might have had emails or communications with them. They're going to be talking to you a little bit later when we get to our students and when we get to talking about the admission process to the Cox School. And before we move on to the faculty, just want to say we welcome questions from everyone today. We want to answer your questions, and we've allotted some time at the end of our program today for students to ask questions. Please feel free to put any questions you have into the chat box, and we'll address as many of them as we possibly can at the end. Our faculty are going to speak first, and they won't be sticking around to answer questions at the end of the program today. If you have very specific questions for any of them, you can feel free to reach out to our office and we will communicate to them if they're questions that we can't answer. So we look forward to taking all those questions at the end of the program today. So let's get started by talking about the different majors in the Cox School. And the first person I want to introduce is Dr. Bill Maxwell, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the finance program. Dr. Maxwell's been with us for many years and was one of the creators of the Cox Alternative Asset Management Program, works very closely with them, and I know he'll have a lot of great things to say. Dr. Maxwell, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, always happy to join you and always happy to talk to new potential students coming in. So
great.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the finance program here in general, and then some of your interesting work in the Alternative Assets Program.
All right, so just kind of as a quick introduction, as Jim said, I'm Professor Maxwell. I'm the director of the Alternative Asset Center. I've been here now 11 years. I've also served as the finance department chair, so I feel like I'm pretty well qualified to talk to all of you about finance. To give you a little bit of background, finance is the largest major on campus at SMU. Now, why that is, I like to think because the professors are the most charming and witty. Some of my colleagues might not say that, but that's what I think it is. So first off, as we get into finance, what's always interesting to me is you actually ask a finance major, well, what is finance? And you get a lot of nebulous answers to that question. And so let me first explain what I think of finance in the broadest, most general sense, and what we're going to be studying as you go through this, if you decide to be a finance major. So I think of it broadly as it is a skill to teach you how to make decisions under uncertainty. That's what it is in a nutshell. Think about it this way. Nobody has to take a finance class. If I were to say there's $10,000 on the table here and there's $9,000 on the table here, which one would you prefer? You don't need a fancy education to figure out which one's the right choice. However, life is not like that. Most of the time you're making an investment up front and there's uncertainty what the outcome is going to be. So a more fair characteristic that you would say is that I'm going to make some investment today for $5,000 and in X number of years, I think I'm going to have $10,000 or $9,000 under these 2 different options. However, there's a probability it's not going to be 10,000, or there's a probability it's not going to be 9,000. Most of the time, returns are uncertain. And so the question is how do I go about this decision given the fact that I'm uncertain about the outcome as we go through there? And so that's what we're going to deal with in finance. And when we talk about finance, when you come here, we're going to kind of break it down where you're going to have an emphasis generally in investments or corporate finance. And investments, when you're going through that track, what you're really doing is how do investors make decisions on what to buy or to sell? Is this a good investment or not? Should I buy Tesla? I hope you didn't buy it recently. It's not too good. But the question is what is a good buy? When should I sell it? And it's about optimizing a portfolio. It could be your own portfolio. It could be somebody else's portfolio. That would be the investment side. On the other side, we think about corporate finance. And when we talk about the decision under uncertainty here, think about a corporation. They are deciding on what to do or how to run this corporation. They have two different investment options. And again, every time somebody makes an investment, a firm goes out and decides to build a plant, the outcome is uncertain. So how do we think about going through the process to decide what is the best investment to make? At the same time, you can think about, I have choices of how to finance it. Should I finance it with debt versus equity? Again, if you tell me what the outcome is going to be with certainty, that's an easy choice. As you start taking decisions away where it's, wow, I'm not really sure what the returns are going to be, then how you finance it changes also. So this is kind of the interaction that is going on in the two broadest sense. We can also think about financial markets as another one, but we won't really go down there. That being said, when you come here and you focus and you say, well, I'm more interested in investments or corporate finance, think about it. We make it and we separate the two just as a nice way to bifurcate the material that you're studying. But if you're in corporate finance and you don't understand how investors are going to look at the company, then you really don't know corporate finance. And in the same way, if you're an investor thinking about investing in a company and you don't understand how the corporation is going to make decisions, you don't really know a whole lot either. So we break it down into these general areas, and yes, you can spend more time in one or the other. However, you have to know both sides to truly understand what's going on. I think of investment in corporate finance as kind of a mirror image of itself. So one's taking a look at it. If you look at the mirror, everything is there. It's just reversed. So it depends on which side of the mirror you're looking at, your choices that you make. So that's generally what I think of finance, is kind of the uncertainty. What I'd like to talk about now is a little bit over kind of what the curriculum is to be a finance major. So first off, even before we get there, Jim mentioned this, and let me strongly emphasize to you the idea, if you want to have a second major or thinking about a second major, I cannot suggest strongly enough that you undertake that and go down that path. One is the reason it's like the last time in life that you're going to really have a lot of time, or for quite a while, you're going to have a lot of time to maybe just devote something to something that you love. So if you have the time, use it, go to that. I will also say the second major is going to be extremely helpful to you when you enter the job market. I cannot tell you how many times that is a differentiator between who gets a job and who doesn't, because in the end, people are looking at this and they're making choices on who's going to get the job and who's not. And it comes down to many times a flip of a coin. Put all the probability you can on your flip of the coin when it comes down to there to make sure that you get that job. The other thing is it can really help you prepare for certain types of jobs. So you think of, one is to pursue a passion as a second degree. I cannot tell you how I've had two of my honor students who had art history as their second major. I cannot tell you how many times they got interviews because of that. And people would always ask them, why did you decide to do art history with finance? Can't get any more different than that. At the same time, if you're taking a second major and it's very complementary to finance, you can think of statistics, you can think of math, any of the computer science, different majors, and there's a number of them. All of these are extremely helpful and bolster your chances of getting a job in finance. So let me push that strongly. And I think that's one of the great things about SMU relative to other schools is you're going to get a chance. They're going to push you to pursue your other degrees as you go through there. And I love that about Cox, go through that. So a little bit more about exactly what goes into the curriculum. So first of all, if you're a finance major, one of the things that we're going to do is make sure that you have a strong dose of accounting in there. You take 4 accounting classes as part of the finance major. That's really unusual. As you're going around and taking a look at other finance majors, you will find that the vast majority have 2 accounting classes required for a finance major. It's pretty rare to actually find some that have 3, and we're one of the outliers that has 4. And really for that is that, one of the great things about our department, I will say, is that we really place a lot of emphasis on making sure that we are teaching the students the right things, the skill sets that will differentiate you from everybody else. And to be strong in finance, frankly, you have to know the numbers and how they're created to go through there, which is going to be the accounting. Now, finance, we are dealing with something that's out in the future that's uncertain. So there is a significant difference between accounting and finance. But finance, frankly, it's kind of funny. Everybody thinks we're the number people, but we're also really the crystal ball people, because we're looking out there in a crystal ball with a lot of fog, trying to figure out how to make decisions, given the fact that we can't see through that fog as we go through it. So first of all, you're going to have a strong basis in accounting as you come into finance. So we might bicker with the accounting department about what's the best major, but we clearly understand the importance of accounting. As you come into the major and you're taking the finance classes, we require certain classes. We want you to be, as we talked about, finance is like, look, you have to know it all to really know finance. And so in that sense, we make you take all the major areas. You're going to take, after your intro class, you will have to take an advanced corporate class. You will take an investments class. You will also take a derivatives class, and you will take an international finance class. After that, you have some options on what you want to take for some other courses going forward, but we're going to give you a strong basis in all the different areas. And as of right now, the requirement is that there is a 1-hour lab in investments and in corporate on top of taking the class, which is really taking, during that lab, it's exactly that. It's taking what you've had in practice and applying it to decisions that are actually going on today. So it's the application-based approach that's going on. If I had my druthers, we would probably do it for derivatives and international finance, but that's another question. And again, one of the things that we are going to do is I think we're going to give you a very strong education based upon the theory of finance, but we are going to take it down to really help you and provide an understanding of how we're actually going to do this as we go through there. So last thing, let's talk about outcomes in finance. I can tell you, I am a parent. I have 2 daughters in college. They're both at SMU. I gave them the choice to go anywhere they wanted. They looked everywhere and they decided on SMU. So it was not just me, and that was with a strong preference of not going to SMU because of somebody being there, me, which I totally understand. So they're both there. But look, as a parent, I'm sure what they're worried about is that you're safe, you have a lot of fun in college, because you should have fun in college. That's part of it. But in the end, the thing that comes down to it is, did I get a good job at the end of the process? I can assure you that as a parent, they want to know that you're going to get a good job. And I think, I'm slightly biased, but I think we do a pretty good job of that. We place our students in finance all over the country in every type of conceivable finance position that is out there. We have a fantastic placement center. I'll even help on the placements for the honor students as they're going through it. I mean, so we put a lot of emphasis on the placement on the way out. Our students are going to Dallas, Houston, New York City, San Francisco, kind of order of where most of them are going. And look, every college and every time you go on here and you hear business and any business school, they're going to talk about, oh, there's this great placement, and they're going to bring somebody up and say, look, this person went to this fantastic place. And those are all true. What I like to focus on is where is the 50th kid in finance going? That I think gives everybody a realistic shot. If you come to SMU, you're a finance major, and you work really, really hard, what are your possible outcomes? And look, go down the list and see it's not just the top 1 or 5 or 10 people who are getting fantastic jobs. It's everybody getting fantastic jobs. I will talk a little bit here in a second. I'll share a page with the honors program, which I run, which is a 2-class. The one everybody takes will be my class, which is Valuation Private Equity 101. And then they get a chance to take a second class, either hedge funds or an energy-related finance class as you go through there. But look, you don't even have to be in my program to have a fantastic outcome. Last year, we had, I can't remember, let me say it's 21, I think it was actually 24, but stick me with the 21 to keep it low, of students that were not in the honors class. So they got which gives you an idea of kind of the quality. So with that, to give you a little bit of placement or the ability to go out there, the one last thing I want to tell you is everybody, again, is going to tell you how great and wonderful the placements are. If you come here, we have these. Well, I believe instead of telling you all of this, that I'm going to provide the information for you and you can make your own decision. So I'm going to share the screen here for a second and talk about, here we go, where are we? All right, I hope everybody can see the page that I pulled up. Can we see that? All right, so this is just a page from the SMU Cox website. It's under people and was it learning? Yeah, it was under learning and culture. If you go down, it provides information about all the centers and institutes. The honors program I was talking about is the Alternative Asset Management Center. If you just go over here, this is the information about where the students were placed. I have all the information about the internship. This is going to be updated in the next week with what happened for the last class and our placements. The other one that I'd bring up is that we also track where all the students go afterwards. Do they actually go into the alternative asset space, which would be the hedge funds and the private equity? It's all there for you to peruse and say, these are where the student's going. Do these seem like pretty good outcomes to you? As you see, anything is bold, it's multiple positions. So most of these you can see, we probably place 45 or so at the investment banks in all the different areas that they have. And it's all out there for you. So, I'm a full believer in sharing everything, and you guys get to make the choice, going well informed about what the outcomes are or what the outcome potentials are. If you go to college and you're not really working really hard and you're not a real exceptional student, then I wouldn't expect a real exceptional outcome. On the other hand, if you go to college, wherever college you go to, and you work really hard and you focus and you know what you're focusing on, and I think that's one of the great things that we do at SMU. Look, life is a game. Getting a job is a game. You cannot win a game unless you know the rules of the game. We're going to tell you exactly what the rules are, how to win the game and a strategy to go about winning. And winning is going to be that outcome. So I know with that, I'm going to turn it over. I know some of you that are listening today, I'm going to see you on campus. I'll have you in class, and I look forward to it. So all the best to you. And then I will turn it over to some other faculty members. Thanks a lot for having me, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maxwell. We appreciate it. That was great information. Let's move on and talk a little bit about accounting and to talk a little bit about the accounting department and the great things they're doing there. This is Dr. Greg Summers, who is a professor in our accounting department. He teaches every single one of our undergraduates who want to study accounting and a lot who want to study finance as well. And he's also the director of our Masters of Science in Accounting program. And just like Dr. Maxwell is a two-time SMU parent, so is Dr. Summers. So they have great perspective on everything you guys are going through right now. Dr. Summers, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I too, as Jim just said, have two children who chose to come to SMU despite Dr. Maxwell being here. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, actually, it's despite me being here. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about accounting and sort of give you a little bit of perspective. I think Dr. Maxwell talked a lot about sort of SMU, and I sort of want to reinforce some of the things that he had. One of the things is we really do care about trying to give our students the opportunity for success in the future. And I think that accounting is one of the things that really does that. You do have to understand the accounting information. I was dealing with my class the other day, and we were looking at a report coming from the Certified Financial Analysts, the CFA group, who talk about accounting as their primary source of information they use. I teach a class. I have an envelope that I sit here and I keep, and there's money in this. And if you don't know how much money is in this, then guess what? You're not going to be able to buy it and make a profit. So you've got to understand the information. If I have the information and you don't, clearly I'm going to be ahead of you when it comes to making a decision. Accounting is about getting that information. I understand that finance wants to talk to you about the future and the risks, but to understand those risks, you got to understand the information that's about what's happened. So that's really what we're here to help you with, is to get the information to make those decisions. And accounting is all about decision making. I also know that you're going to be entering a world where we don't know what's coming. None of us saw that we would be doing a virtual session today, but we do. And I'm thrilled that you came out to join us for that. But at the same time, we don't know what's coming. Well, guess what? In accounting, we've really seen, honestly, basically no impact as a result of all of this. Why? Accounting sort of continues to be stable. It goes well, there's jobs. It doesn't go well, there's jobs. We're not an area that's going to have a lot of fluctuation in terms of that. What we're going to have the whole way through is opportunities. I can bring in people to talk about all kinds of things that they've gone out and done, from starting businesses to running businesses, working in finance, working in real estate, working in all kinds of areas. And I think that's one of the things that's really cool, is if you go through and you look at the accounting, and if you understand the financial information for decision making, then you're going to have everything that you need to be able to go ahead and move forward. So that's pretty much what it's about. And when we teach accounting, we really try to teach it in a way that we future-proof people. We try to prepare you for those jobs that don't yet exist. We've all heard that. Oh, the jobs you're preparing for today don't yet exist. Accounting's here to work towards that. How do you do that? You teach people critical thinking, judgment, and decision-making skills. In our case, in an accounting context. Other majors will do it in another context, but we're teaching it to you because those are the things that are going to make it so that no matter how things change, no matter what comes down the pipe next, you're going to have those opportunities. Our students are heavily recruited for all kinds of great jobs nationwide. We place nationwide as well. Great firms, great companies out there seeking out our students, great opportunities for them. And that's what I think Cox does well. I also think I'll point out, because one of my students, one of my children is actually not in Cox, but is at SMU. And you see this university-wide. If you get here and you decide, hey, I don't want to be an accounting major, I don't want to be a finance major, don't even want any of those folks who are going to follow up on this, there's other great opportunities across this university. The university as a whole is here for your success. And I think that's one of the things that we do really well. Quite often I'm talking to a student and you really start to see that alumni and connections and those kinds of things are very important. Accounting has been working very hard at that. I've been running the Master's in Accounting program for now going on a dozen years, been at SMU for 19 years. And I regularly have conversations where in the middle of the conversation, it's like, you know, you need to talk to somebody and you connect that person. I think that's one of the things that SMU fits that perfect size for that. We're not one of those super large universities where nobody knows anybody. We're not so small that you don't get to be yourself, but yet we've got a great balance of people, a great variety of people. We do have a great variety of people, and I think that's a wonderful aspect of SMU. So accounting, we're here, we're preparing you basically to understand the information that you need to be a business person. You know, I could pick on any one of the other majors. They could try to pick on me. I usually can hold my own in that. But what you see is that when you look at the information, if you understand the information, then you can begin to do the things that come your way. I have accounting majors who go into investment banking. I have accounting majors who go out and do starting businesses. I have accounting majors who go out and do real estate or end up in management. I have a guy coming in about a week and a half to talk to our students. He's going to be on Zoom like this. He's been out of school 8 years. He's already had a chief operating officer, a chief financial officer, and now a CEO role at a company. There's folks out there that are absolutely kicking it, coming out of all of these majors. So what I would encourage you is get to Cox, explore, learn, and make an informed decision. I honestly am thrilled with whatever major you choose if you make that choice in an informed manner. If you make that choice without exploring your options, I'll be honest, I got a problem with that. Learn what's a stereotype and what's not. Give you a hint. If you want to be a people person, if you want to have more interactions with people, accounting actually has some of the highest amounts of interactions with people. Why? Because you're always working on a team. You're always serving a client. There's things like that that people may not be what people expected. Come, learn, enjoy. You can do a lot at SMU, and SMU can do a lot for you. So thanks for coming out. I appreciate the opportunity.
Very well said, Dr. Summers. You built a great program here along with all the other great faculty here, and thank you for all you're doing for our students. Pleasure talking to you. Let's talk about marketing now, and I want to introduce Professor Judy Foxman, who teaches a lot of our intro to marketing classes. So many of our marketing students will take her, and then also sports marketing, and she runs our marketing practicum class, which I'm sure she's not going to speak today without telling us a little bit about that program. Professor Foxman, good afternoon. How are you?
I am fine. First of all, thank you, all of you, for coming here today. I wish we could see you on campus, but man, to have all of you virtually is just fabulous. And we're so glad that you're here with us. Coming after Professor Summers and Dr. Maxwell, both of them is a really tough thing to do. So Jim, I might have to talk to you about this, schedule that you have me coming in.
Judy, we know you can hold your own.
But one of the things I want to reiterate, especially what Dr. Summers said, is that we want you to come and we want you to gain information and to make decisions here at SMU and especially at Cox based upon information, what moves you based upon, not based upon stereotypes. So we really want you to experience the program and all that SMU has to offer and the Cox School. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about marketing. I like to say that marketing is as close to entrepreneurship without the as much of the going out and collecting investor funds in your area, because we are so much involved in running a business, because we are involved in the promotion of a product or service, the pricing of a product or service, the distribution of a product or service, how you get it. and what that product or service looks like itself, its packaging, or what the different components are. We are in charge of going and assessing a marketplace. In an organization, the marketers are the closest of anyone to the customer. And so if one of the things that I love about marketing, and I've been doing it for a long time, is that it is both right and left brain thinking. So it has the analytics. You'll take market research courses. You'll dive into customer insights. But it has creative parts where we'll look at consumer behavior. Why do consumers and businesses buy the products and services that they need? How do they make those decisions? And one thing that both of the people who spoke before I did said will help you learn how to deal with uncertainty. We want to teach you critical thinking skills that are not good for today, the environment that we are in today, or is not good for someone who graduated 2 years ago. What we are doing is preparing you for giving you foundational skills that can take you and build you for the future. So some things that we do in our marketing department that we're very proud of, and I think are things that differentiate us from other programs, because you'll look at other programs in marketing, we all offer a market research course, an intro to marketing course, but a few things that we do. First of all, we have a deep belief in the experiential process. We want our students to really experience marketing, get exposed to it in a variety of different ways. So in many times in your very first intro to marketing class, you are working on developing a marketing plan. I know I kicked it off with my students on Monday, their project. They'll be developing a marketing plan. Some classes are working with real companies. Others are where a company comes in and gives them a real project. Others, we're saying, hey, pick a company that you are interested in, and really looking at them and developing new initiatives that they might take. We also have, as we go forward into our other classes, most all of our classes have a project associated with it. How do we apply what we are learning, the academic concepts in the classroom? How do we apply it in the real world? We use computer simulations. We use real companies. We have an internship requirement where all of our students, to be a marketing major, must have a marketing internship while they are here at Cox. And it exposes our students to a variety of different areas of marketing. People get to test drive what they like of marketing, different areas. We have had students go with Coca-Cola, Southwest Airlines. We have had them go with the Richards Group, and the largest independent advertising agencies in the country. We have had them go with Amazon and Unilever. Then we have the marketing practicum that Jim alluded to. Yes, I've taught the marketing practicum for many years. And for the last 9 years, we have had the wonderful fortune of working with Fox Sports. And our students, we come and do a consulting project for them. And over the years, we have done, our projects have been national in scope, where we have looked at World Cup soccer and how do we increase viewership. To local. Last year, we did a project for the Dallas Stars, Go Stars. And the year before that, 2 straight years, we did a project for the Dallas Mavericks. And our students do primary research. They get out, they do research, they build a marketing plan based upon that research. They go out, they meet with executives, they are out at with Fox Sports. They are out at the studios looking at how productions, real-time sports productions are actually produced, but also at the arena, how they actually come into place and how sponsors are, that sponsorship is activated in real time. And then at the end, they provide their findings to executives. We have, this is a competition, a small group of students. We have 5 teams, and the winning team has the opportunity of their winning idea being brought to market, being produced. So if you go on YouTube, you will see one of the winning teams, Sofa Stadium, that was brought to market several years ago. It was done for Conference USA football. And the tagline, "Best seats in the house," is still being used today. So again, I think to look at our marketing program is one, I think if you were to think of it, I would think of experiential. We're going to get you in, we're going to let you be exposed to companies, and can't wait to meet you on campus virtually anyway. Just so glad that you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Foxman, for being with us today and sharing a little bit about the marketing program. We appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about the management major. And to do that is the chair of the management department, Dr. Marcus Butts, who's got some real great insights to the neat things they're doing in the management department. Good afternoon, Dr. Butts. Thanks for being here.
Hello, Jim. Thank you very much for having me.
We appreciate it.
Great. So I feel like hearing everyone else speak thus far, I wanted to take a second and kind of step back a little bit before I tell you what management organizations does. And that is kind of with regard to like why come to Cox. So I'm kind of in a unique situation where I've been a professor at a university in the UT system, and I also got my undergraduate degree at the opposite school from the UT system, that being one that favors the maroon and white colors. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed and why I would like my kids to go to SMU, which they're far away from that, being 7 and 5, there's a degree of intimacy in the Cox program that you don't really have at a large state institution like the 2 I just mentioned. Obviously, both are great institutions. I went to one of them. But there is a degree of kind of customization that Cox really prides itself on. And in addition to that, one of the things that Professor Foxman and others have mentioned is that being in Dallas, we really try to tie ourselves to exposure in the business world, whether that is practicums or experiential learning, as well as having exposure to professors that have a foot in that world. Those are opportunities and experiences that you don't get in a lot of other institutions. In the M&O department, so the Management Organizations Department, we constantly have executives from Fortune 500 companies that have taught undergraduate classes for us. I currently have a previous Chief Human Resource Officer from Match.com that teaches our human resources class. And so that kind of knowledge and real world expertise is something that's really difficult to find at another institution. And we really pride ourselves on trying to integrate those types of experiences with an academic education. So I just want to mention a little bit about that for kind of like why you should think about Cox as an opportunity for your college education. And then I wanted to also tell you a little bit about the M&O major or M&O major overall. So one of the things in M&O is we often like to say that it's the people that matter. And what I mean by that is that in the M&O department, we really focus on leadership and managerial skills. We feel that you're going to encounter all types of careers and opportunities that are going to make it necessary for you to use your managerial skills and your leadership skills, no matter what industry you go into. So that's why we really kind of highlight those aspects. I'm also going to share my screen with you to kind of show you why this is important. There we go. You see that? What I'm showing here on my screen is a recent survey from National Association of Colleges and Employers, where they talk about the attributes or the skills that they seek on a candidate's resume. As you see here, what I highlight in blue, a number of employers and organizations or recruiting firms, the things they look for in candidates are problem-solving skills, ability to work on a team, and leadership. Those are all core competencies that the Management Organizations Department really tries to bring into their courses. Regardless of whether or not you major in management organizations or management, it's really important that our core classes, we try to make sure that they have a high degree of these types of topics within those courses. And the reason why I highlight that is because you'll notice there's a number of more kind of hard skills, quantitative analytic skills, technical skills, and computer skills, which are much lower on this list of attributes that employers seek. That's not to say that you shouldn't learn these things. It's more that it's going to be the problem-solving skills, the leadership, and the ability to work in a team type of expertise that's going to differentiate you from other job applicants. And that's one of the main reasons why we try to hone those skills for you within the management major. Now, just a little bit about kind of our concentration itself. So in management organizations, if you major in management, we have a required course sequence where you're required to take 2 of 3 courses from human resources, project management, and leadership and culture. The project management classes really gives you a hands-on opportunity for experiential learning of what does it take to be a project manager, project management kind of leader. Not only in terms of hard skills, spreadsheets, staffing, those type of things, but also just how to work in a team and how to lead a team. You also get exposure to organizational culture and leadership as a discipline in the M&O 4371. And then lastly, with regard to electives, we try to make the management major extremely flexible for students, where we understand that even if you don't go into you're probably likely not going to go into a managerial field right after undergrad, but it's that exposure that you need, that leadership skills, regardless of the industry. So that's why we have the electives very flexible in terms of entrepreneurship classes, organizational consulting and change management, business decision making, to give you an opportunity to use that variety of knowledge and skills in a number of areas and industries. And this last slide just kind of shows you a variety of different career flexibility fields that you could apply the management major into. But again, I think all of us on this call today, the department chairs, would say that our number one goal is to try to not convince you, but show you why Cox is a great opportunity for you in terms of a destination. And with regard to that, one of the big things is that what does Cox provide for you? What can we do for you? And how can we be your best sponsor and mentor possible as you embark on your career? So that's usually kind of one of our big goals here at Cox. And so we hope that we can try to do that for you over your next 4 years or so in your undergraduate education.
That's great.
So with that, I'll kind of turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate that and appreciate you being here. That's great insight to some of the things that you guys are doing and the perspective you take in that department. Really appreciate that, and thank you for being here. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Jim.
Let's talk a little bit now about real estate. We've got a great real estate department. It's one of the oldest programs in the country. And I want to turn it over to Dr. Wally Boudry, who's going to tell us a little bit about some of the neat things they're doing in that program and maybe a little bit about why our location is such a great advantage. Dr. Boudry, hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. So let me just say that I'm going to take a slightly different perspective to the way that sort of the previous speakers have sort of talked about this, in that I'm going to spend a bit of time telling you about what do we actually do in the real estate department, because it might be an area that you haven't actually heard much about. So when I was in y'all's situation, I had no idea what I was going to do. I took all these math and science classes in high school, just knew I didn't want to take any more chemistry. And so I ended up in a business school. Sadly, there were no real estate courses for me to take there. And so it took me until grad school to find that I could actually work in real estate. So what is it that we do? We focus on commercial real estate and real estate as a financial asset. So what we're thinking about are office buildings, apartment buildings, industrial warehouses, malls, hotels, things like that. And so what do we do in that space? Although we're thinking about real estate, what we're really trying to understand is how do people use real estate? Real estate's fixed in location. So if you're a bit of a people watcher, so if you're one of those people that goes to the mall and tries to figure out why is everyone moving the way they are? Why are all the shops set up the way they are? Then you might be a real estate person. And so in our industry, there's just a huge range of jobs and also sort of characteristics of those jobs. So it's very multidisciplinary. So if you're interested in finance, we've got finance jobs in real estate. If you're interested in marketing, we've got marketing jobs in real estate. If you're interested in accounting, we've got accounting jobs in real estate. The fundamental thing you'll find is everyone in real estate at some point in time got bit by the real estate bug. And we love it as an asset class. So the one thing real estate people love to do is talk about real estate. And Dallas is just a fundamentally great real estate town. And so if you think about Dallas, what do we have here? We've got energy and we've got real estate. So pretty much most of the people you run into in industry are doing one of those two things. And especially when you get to sort of Cox, you've got Trammell Crow is kind of the background out of this. So the Crow organization, big, massive US real estate developer, we're sort of very well hooked in with them. And so when you think about what jobs are there out there in real estate, they really span the whole spectrum. So we've got lending jobs, investing jobs, consulting jobs. You can go into leasing, you can go into advisory. So there's just a huge array of job tasks out there. They span the spectrum in terms of being very corporate. So if you're one of those people that likes being in a corporate structure, you can go out and work for a big private equity firm. If you're much more entrepreneurial, which a lot of our real estate students are, there's a huge part of our market that is just all about hustle. And so I was talking to a student just recently, and he's just trying to put deals together while he's in school, because that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to work for someone else. He wants to be his own boss. And so we've got jobs that look like that. We've got jobs that are very quantitative in nature. So they take those skills that you see in sort of finance, learning how to crunch numbers. And then we've got other jobs at the extreme other end of the spectrum, which look much more like those soft skills, relationship-based, managing people. And so we rely very heavily on all of the other majors that sit here at Cox, and we love having great faculty out there. And so that's why I never say we're the best major. We might be the perfect major for you if you've been bitten by that real estate bug. The last thing I just want to mention is we've got a great real estate institute here. So the Folsom Institute, it's unbelievably well hooked into real estate in Dallas, but into real estate more generally across the US. And what that institute allows us to do is bring in guest speakers. We run Folsom forums. And so we've got the CEO of Invitation Homes is going to be talking next week. So huge owner of single family rentals in the country. And so we do those on sort of a regular sequence. And so it gives you just a great introduction to the real estate industry. I'm sure once we get out of this whole COVID situation, we'll go back to doing site visits. And so we go out and look at buildings and talk to developers. And so it gives you just great exposure to the real estate industry. And that's just one of the huge advantages we get from being here in Dallas, is just being around so much real estate. So that's my pitch for real estate. If you get bit by the real estate bug, come talk to us. Or if you're sort of floating around at Cox and you're not really sure, you're not loving whatever that major is that you've got, come and talk to us. It might be that real estate is your thing. Thanks for your time.
That's great insight, Dr. Buju. Thank you. And one thing I mentioned at the beginning, but I think would be nice to reiterate now, is that you can major in real estate at the Cox School, but you can also major in something else and do a concentration, which is the 4 core real estate classes added on to any major. And I think that gives students a great opportunity to pursue real estate along with something else in a way they might not be able to with other majors.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Thanks for coming today. We really appreciate your insight. We're looking forward to seeing you again in person real soon.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, let's wrap up the majors and departments conversation with our newest major. We're very excited about. We're going to start offering this major next year. This is Business Analytics and Supply Chain Management. It's going to be run out of our Information Technology Operations Management Department. We shorten that and just call it ITOM. This major is going to be run out of the ITOM department. And here to talk a little bit about this program is the chair of the ITOM department, Dr. Amit Basu. Dr. Basu, good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. Dr. Basu, are you there?
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
There you are. Hi, Dr. Basu. How are you?
Hi. Good, good. Very good. Well, welcome, everyone. Yes, welcome everyone. So as Jim said, I'm going to talk about business analytics and supply chain management. Well, if you've been living in a cave for the past 6 months, for one thing, you've been very lucky. But if you haven't, then you would have seen how business analytics and supply chains have redefined our world. Why? Well, think about it. Every day on the news, you're seeing all these graphs, right? These trends of where COVID's spreading fast and when is it going to go away and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what all that is? It's analytics. And actually, we've seen not only analytics, but both good analytics and bad analytics. And hopefully, you get a sense of why it's so important to do that well. And what about supply chains? Remember when this whole COVID thing started? Guess what one of the first things was that you couldn't find anywhere? Toilet paper. Toilet paper. Well, now we've got masks and a whole bunch of other things that we are worried about being able to get. Well, why is that? Because these kind of disruptions affect supply chains, which become very crucial in order to get the things that you need where you need to get them. And by the way, even vaccines, we're all sitting with biting our nails, wondering when the vaccine's going to come here. Well, guess what? A big part of that is going to be supply chains, getting the vaccines from where they are made to where they are needed, and so on. So clearly, this is very, very contemporary stuff. But it's not just about COVID and vaccines. It's about business in general. I mean, 2 things that characterize business today are business is increasingly global and business is increasingly data-driven. And we're also seeing some very important trends. For example, more and more companies are beginning to make, again, the things that they sell. We went through this huge shift in terms of the economy where there was a lot of outsourcing and offshoring, things like that. And while that's still around, it's changing. And so the ability to understand how companies operate, how they make the things they do, how they get what they need, make what they make, and get it to where they need, that's going to be very crucial. And that's all about supply chain management. So in this program, you're going to learn really important stuff about all aspects of supply chain management, not just for manufacturing companies, which is obvious, you need to know how things are made and supplies and so on, but even services, even for organizations like banks and hotels and telecom companies and even internet companies. So supply chain issues are really huge. They're the guts of how business gets done. And so it's a very important area and very exciting area because, as I said, it's going to get very important. And then what about business analytics? Guess what? It's a data-driven world today. Okay? And understanding data, understanding how to manipulate it, how to leverage it is going to be absolutely crucial for business success. In fact, I tell my students, it's interesting that you see more and more companies are being led by younger people. Why is that? Well, because increasingly, it doesn't matter how things were done 20 years ago and learning about how things used to be done. More and more, we define the best decisions based on data that's around us today. And so being able to grapple with that, harness that resource, and be smart about it is huge for being competitive in business. And that's what the business analytics piece of the program is about. So you're going to learn about things like data management. You're going to learn about cool stuff like data visualization, modeling, machine learning, AI, and so on. And so this is all very, very useful stuff. And by the way, it doesn't matter which functional area you go into in a business. Data is everywhere, and you're going to have to deal with that, and really provides a wonderful foundation. You also have a practicum component to this program, which is going to be, I think, again, very useful from an experiential standpoint, because you get to work with real companies on their real problems. And we found that in our MS program in business analytics, which has been fantastic, it's now the largest graduate program at the Cox School. Companies line up to work with our students and get value from that. So in this program, in the major, you'll be able to leverage that as well.
Can you give us some quick examples of those companies that you think will be working with our students on the experiential side?
Oh, Jim, there's it's a whole variety. I mean, everything from, whether it's AT&T or American Airlines or, Frito-Lay, or, I mean, it's across the board, different industries, different types of businesses. They all, again, because so many companies are just trying to figure out how to best leverage their data, because they haven't done that. It's sort of the hidden secret. It's today it is the competitive resource in companies. So all these guys want to know about it, and they want to hire young people who understand this stuff, which is why we find that if you have these skills, it's a clear differentiator from the hundreds and thousands of other graduates from business school programs. I want to add just one other piece to this, which is that it so happens that while we are starting this program, we are there's also a brand new major at SMU in data science, and the data science major is actually intended strictly as being a second major. And as you know, one of the strengths of SMU is that you can actually get multiple majors. And it turns out that perhaps the best major at the Cox School to combine with a data science major is the business analytics and supply chain major, because it turns out that you can double count a bunch of courses towards both the majors, and you have the opportunity to take courses both within the Cox School as well as other schools at SMU. So it provides a very rich environment, and really, as I said, whether you want to really leverage the supply chain aspect of it and get into working in companies or in consulting, or you want to become just a sort of a data job. Okay, and I don't mean that just from a technical standpoint, but even from a business standpoint, understanding how to leverage data in business. I think the major offers you fantastic opportunities. So I'd welcome any questions you might have about it, and And I hope you consider it as part of your program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Basu. We're very excited about this major starting up. It's starting for our first year students now. We expect them to be taking some of our upper level classes as they move through their career here. But we're excited about a lot of prospective student interest in it as well, and appreciate your insight. Not a better time to launch a major dealing with supply chain than when there's a global pandemic that kind of shuts down the supply chain for a lot of different areas. It's like an advertisement for your program, unfortunately.
Right. That's how. No, we had nothing to do with it, though.
You're right. You're right. We appreciate your thoughts and insight today. Thank you for coming. All right, so we've heard from a lot of our different faculty about the great programs that they have and all the wonderful things they're doing. Let's see if they were telling the truth or not by talking to some of our current students about their experiences and hear about the neat things that they're doing. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Heather Clift, who's one of our Associate Directors of Admission, and she's going to help facilitate some conversations with our students. Heather, good afternoon.
Hello, everyone. So happy that you're all here. I'm going to ask each of our 3 students to go ahead and introduce yourselves, your name, your major, where you're from, what year you are, and then we'll kick things off. Caroline, if you could start.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Caroline Gunderson. I am from Austin, Texas, and I'm currently majoring in German and accounting. I'm a senior this year, which I can't really believe. The last 4 years have gone by so quickly, but I'm very excited to be here today.
All right, and then Ta, if you could go.
Hi all, my name is Ta Lee. I'm a senior from Prosper, Texas, and I'm double majoring in business management and biology with minors in history and psychology.
And last but not least, Cameron.
How's it going, guys? Thanks, Heather and Jim. I can tell you all that those professors are definitely not lying. I'm currently finishing my semester as, I guess, a senior now, studying finance with a specialization in alternative asset management. And I'm originally from Frisco, Texas.
All right, and then guys, we'll keep this same order so you can just kind of chime in as your peer finishes up. We just heard all about the different majors, so if you could talk about why you chose your major, that would be great. And again, Caroline, you can kick things off.
Yeah, well, when I first came to SMU, I was kind of one of those people who was like, yeah, I'm in business. I'll probably do finance or accounting, probably finance. But then I took my first accounting class and I really loved the professor, and they gave me a lot of insight into kind of what an actual career in accounting looks like. And the more I learned about that, the more I realized I had actually no idea what accountants did. And just kind of the people I met along the way at SMU, all of the networking opportunities I had, I got so many connections in the accounting world. And then also I really appreciated how SMU's accounting program is structured. It's a very defined track, and going from undergrad to graduate school is a relatively seamless process. And then beyond that, there's so many opportunities in Dallas with all of the biggest firms in the world, and those were all opportunities that I just didn't want to pass up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and when I first came to SMU, I came as a biology major, so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted to take some business classes and maybe get a major in that. So with my majors, they're in different schools, and SMU makes it really easy to be interdisciplinary, and I thought that my management major would really complement all of my other ones well in terms of just gaining really solid skills in order to progress in my future career. And then once I got into all of the different classes and things like that, I just fell in love with all the classes. The professors are so helpful. And then again, kind of like what Caroline was talking about, you just get into the community of the business students and the management students, and it's very supportive. Yeah, and I've loved my experience so far.
Cameron?
Sure. So clearly I'm majoring in finance. And before I came to SMU, I knew that I wanted to be a business student. But I wasn't certain what area of business I wanted to major in, probably similarly to a lot of you. So I got to SMU and heard about the alternative asset management program, and also joined a couple extracurricular activities that really made it clear to me that finance was the path that I wanted to take. Reason being, it was a good option to get experience in different industries, whether that be investment banking or private equity, corporate finance. Those are the careers that I decided I wanted to pursue. And the best way to do that was to major in finance and then subsequently be a part of the alternative asset management program, which you heard about earlier.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you, and you do have to limit it to just one. So don't try to cheat between one business class, one outside. What has been your favorite class that you've taken at SMU? Most of the faculty have logged off, so they won't be offended.
I feel like that limitation was very pointed at me because I definitely would have picked multiple. I think probably my favorite class was not a business class. It was a human rights class I took last year. It was jointly taught by two of my favorite teachers. We went on a spring break trip to Berlin together, and I learned all about human rights. I got to get involved with human rights organizations in Europe, which was so cool. And although it wasn't a business class, I do think it speaks to how interdisciplinary SMU is and how much they encourage you to explore your interests regardless of what they are. Like if you're an accounting major and you want to go take an art class, like cool, do it. Explore all your interests, figure out what you are passionate about. So that was probably the best experience I've had here so far.
I think my answer might be cheating a little bit too, but my answer is this management class called Global and Public Health, but it also counts for some like anthropology credits as well. But I really loved that class because it tied in a lot of my different majors and my other passions. That class was taught by Professor Eric Bing, and he brought in so many professionals in the healthcare industry too, and this was all happened last semester, so right when the pandemic was getting big. So it was really cool to be able to hear from them and apply a lot of our management skills in actually pitching a like a business proposition to all of those people.
So I think the favorite class that I've taken is one that you guys have heard a lot about today, and that is the alternative asset management class taught by Professor Maxwell. We'll say I had 4 professors that spoke to you earlier, and they all had fantastic classes and courses. I enjoyed them all. But in particular, the alternative asset management course was a great way for me to prepare for my internships in investment banking and subsequently get a job. It is by far the most intense course I've taken in college, and it will be the most intense course that I will take in school. But it's very worth it because it puts you up to par and on the desk at your internships next to people that are coming from schools like Wharton, Harvard, Yale. And you're actually more prepared than they are. So I can't speak higher about that course.
Awesome, thank you. And I see this question popped up in the chat, but what would a Cox experience be without your internships? So I would love if you could speak a little bit to ones that you have already done or that are on the horizon. And Carolyn, you can start.
Yeah, so this last summer, I interned in the finance department in the internal control department of PepsiCo. And that was a really great opportunity. A lot of people there had either gone to SMU or who had worked with people who had been at SMU. So that was a very fun experience. And then one of my favorite things about the accounting major actually is that an internship is built into the last semester of your year at school. So this past spring, I went through recruiting with all of the major public accounting firms. And then this upcoming spring, I'm going to be spending the semester as a tax intern at Deloitte.
Awesome. And Carolyn, I know that Carolyn actually has a job to get to, so I'm going to let her sign off. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll kick back up with the other 2 students. So Tuck, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so my original plans this summer were actually to conduct research abroad through an SMU fellowship. However, all the abroad stuff kind of got canceled. So I ended up doing 2 separate internships, remote and in person. So my first one was with competitor detail via Management Consulted, which is a consulting firm. And for that internship, it was actually based in India, so it was completely virtual and a really unique experience. I got to learn so much, and I really was able to do a lot of like market research and things like that to get some good hands-on experience. And then later in the summer, I had an internship with ERA Realty, which is a real estate firm located right here in Dallas. So I got to go in and do a lot of data analytics for them. So both those were great experiences. And the Career Center at Cox was really, really helpful in looking at resumes, helping me network, and all that fun stuff to find internships.
Sure. So I'll jump in next. I had my first internship the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, and I worked for a very small commercial real estate firm here in Dallas, and then quickly decided I wanted to try to get more experience in investment banking. So that fall, I worked for a small oil and gas investment bank here in Dallas. The following summer, I moved up to New York City and worked for Citi, doing banking for them. And then more recently, worked in New York City for an investment bank called PJT Partners. And that's where I'll be returning when I graduate.
Awesome. And so could you each talk quickly about what you've been involved with on campus? So kind of outside the classroom, but still here on campus. What organizations did you dive into? And Tuck, you can start.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about SMU is actually the community, and I think a great way to build your community is by participating in so many of the extracurricular activities that we have available on campus. So to start off, one of the first organizations I joined was Program Council, which brings the fun to campus. So we did a lot of programming events, and I just got to meet a lot of really cool people through that. In addition, I am involved in Greek Life. I was on the exec for my sorority, and now I'm on exec for the overall Pan-Hellenic Council. I've also participated in quite a few like honor societies and major specific ones. So I did a pre-med one, and I've gotten to do some business ones as well. And I think that pretty much wraps it all up.
Just a few.
Yeah, so I don't think I am as involved as Ta is on campus, but I try my best. When I was a freshman, I joined a business fraternity, and that took up a good amount of time and was a great opportunity to meet new people around school. And then also joined a finance organization called the Boulevard Investment Group, which I now run. And that was very helpful, I thought, because it gave me an introduction to older students at SMU who were going to work in the career fields that I was interested in. And it also gave me early exposure to all of the information I needed to know. So that was really beneficial. It's a nonprofit organization that manages money, donates it back to SMU. And then outside of that, I was also a part of the Entrepreneurship Club, which just restarted up this year. And SMU has a very strong entrepreneurship program. So there's some great roots, great speakers that come into that club as well.
Cool. And then last kind of group of questions. And Cameron, you alluded to this already, what you're doing after graduation, but if you could kind of reiterate, if you know, tell what you're doing after graduation and elaborate any more on that. And then any parting words of advice for our prospective students.
Yeah, so as a senior, I'm graduating in May. I am hoping to pursue some sort of postgraduate program, whether that be an MBA or law school, actually. So fingers crossed on all my applications this fall. And I think words of advice is just to get involved. You never really know what's going to happen as far as like internships and all that stuff until you try. So SMU has so many great opportunities, so definitely go for all those.
Thank you so much. Cameron?
Sure. So like I mentioned, when I graduate, I'll be moving to New York City to start working at an investment bank. And I saw a couple of questions come across the chat. Obviously, one was talking about time management. Some words of advice I'll give you all is certainly come to SMU, get involved. You want to meet as many people as possible. And I think as long as you're focused on your studies, which should always be number one priority, you'll have no problem with time management. And just like Professor Maxwell mentioned to you, you have the resources at SMU to succeed, and you can do very, very well at SMU as long as you're focused and you have your goals at the top of your mind. So SMU is an incredible school. I think that you have more resources here than most other schools that you could go to, not only in Texas, but also in the South and across the United States. So SMU does an incredible job building community, being in a business environment. You can get great exposure being in Dallas, and also having a lot of fun while doing it. But the school is, it's a great school, and I would highly encourage you to consider the Cox School of Business for your studies, because I have zero regrets about coming here.
Very happy to hear that as you're on your way out. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. You're amazing. You're wonderful. We will be very sad to not have you on campus next year, but you can come back as alums. So I'm going to turn things over now to my counterpart in the admission office, Olivia Trevino, and she's going to talk to you about the admission process into the business school and SMU.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Well, welcome, guys. We're so excited that you guys are here. We're in the home stretch as far as the program is concerned, but I definitely wanted to take a minute to talk a little bit more about the admission process to both SMU and to the Cox School of Business. So it's really, really important as you guys are going through this process to sort of understand how we actually evaluate students for all of these great programs that you've heard about today. So first and foremost, we'll talk a little bit about the admission to SMU in general. So for those of you who are seniors and preparing your applications, we do take several forms of applications. We take our application, the common application, the coalition application, as well as Apply Texas. And there are two separate deadlines for students that you are able to submit your application by. So the first is going to be the early deadline, which is November 1st. The second deadline is January 15th. So we do offer an early decision round for students, and then we have regular decision rounds. So early decision is that binding contract you would sign with your parents and your admission counselor, your high school counselor, saying that you are coming to SMU regardless of what program you're getting into. So that's a really important sort of caveat there to know, that if you are signing that early decision contract, that means you are committed to SMU as a whole. That will make sense why I'm mentioning that in just a second. But then we also have just a regular, early action round and regular decision round where you don't have that binding contract. You're basically saying, I'm applying to SMU and I'm going to decide by May 1st whether I am coming there or not. So again, that's November 1st to January 15th. As you can see on the slide here, we have a pretty holistic review when it comes to looking at students' applications. So we are going to look at everything from your essay to your extracurricular activities on your resume to your transcript in high school. I do want to pause and just mention that we are going to be test optional this fall, meaning that the students who are applying for next year, these seniors who are submitting their applications, you will not need to submit a test score. With everything that's gone on this spring, we decided to go ahead and just as a school as a whole, go ahead and be test optional. So you will see that everywhere on our application, but know that through that application process, you will not need to submit those scores. If you've already submitted them, great. If you still want to submit them and you have scores to submit, that's great too. But know that if you don't have those available or you do not want to submit scores, you are not going to be looked upon negatively for doing that. So we want to make sure that that's abundantly clear for students. You're automatically considered for scholarships from the main admission office anytime you're applying between those two deadlines. So there's not a priority deadline either by November 1st or January 15th. You are still automatically considered. And I'll talk a little bit about our specific scholarship program here in just a second. But know that whatever you're putting on your application as your first choice major is going to be the school that looks at you for their specific scholarship programs. So that is really, really important to note. I do want to show you guys just a little bit as far as statistics are concerned for the class of 2024 that is incoming this year. These are the averages we saw for those students who were admitted. So you can see the mid 50% ranges. Basically, that means the majority of students who applied and were admitted were between these ranges. So this is a pretty good idea and gauge when you guys are thinking about applying to SMU, knowing sort of what we look for as far as the academic profile. Again, obviously we are looking at much more than just academics, but this will give you sort of a guide as far as the type of academic rigor we see for students who are admitted to the school overall. So we are under a direct admission model, which means that every student who is applying to SMU putting business as one of their areas of academic interest is going to be considered for a spot here within the Cox School of Business. So we admit our full first year class up front from the students who have been admitted to SMU as a whole. So there will be sort of a two-pronged process in your admission process here at SMU. So first and foremost, you would need to be accepted to SMU as a whole. And then from there, we evaluate your application in our office and we notify students about a week after they've received their acceptance from the main admission office, whether they have been accepted to the Cox School of Business. This is all pretty much put on all of the applications, but just as a reminder, if you are putting an area of academic interest on your application that is business or one of our majors, you are going to automatically be considered for a spot here within the Cox School. There is not a separate application. There is not a separate supplement that you need to submit just for the Cox School of Business. So know that whatever you're putting on your application, that's all you'll need to do. There are two different groups of students who are going to be admitted to the Cox School up front. So that is going to be the BBA Scholars and the Business Direct students. So the BBA Scholars program is our scholarship program. So when I mentioned, putting that business major potentially as your first choice major on your application, you'll automatically be considered for this program if you do that. So we look at students who are very high academic achieving students wanting to study business. This is a pretty competitive application and review process. We see students who are very high academic achieving students. The averages we saw this year for this group was about a 3.9 GPA, a 34 on the ACT, and about a 1500 on the SAT. So these, again, are very high academic achieving students. Once all is said and done, there's usually about 100 students who are in an incoming class who are distinguished as BBA Scholars. They receive a supplemental scholarship, usually around $5,000 per year, in addition to being able to go ahead and declare their major after their first semester here at SMU. So you have priority access to all the different resources and things here within the Cox School. So that is our premier scholarship program. And then we also have another group of students called the Business Direct students. So the Business Direct students is a much larger group of students. These students are the ones who are coming in who are able to declare their major after a couple different points that they need to make, and then they are able to declare their major usually after their first year here at SMU. So these students, usually there's about 350 of them who are in an incoming first year class. This is a competitive process, but again, there's a lot more students who are invited into this program. The averages we saw for these students was about a 3.6 GPA, 1380 on the SAT, and about a 31 on the ACT. So you can put business as one of your areas of academic interest, either first or second choice. So if you have something else that you are definitely wanting to put as your first choice, that's totally fine. If we're putting business or any one of our majors on the application, you are automatically going to be considered for this program. A couple of things that I definitely want to cover as far as AP, IB, and dual credit courses. We do take those credits. You will be able to see what exactly corresponds to which courses on the credit by examination page that is on the SMU website. So if you just Google SMU credit by examination, you can see what classes we are going to take for those different tests that you have. We do take a 4 or 5 on an AP test, a 5 or above on an IB test, and then we also take dual credit classes. Those classes are going to transfer over if they are from an institution that we take transfer credit from. I do want to emphasize we did start a new curriculum this fall. The core curriculum is a little bit different than our original liberal arts core curriculum, and they are only allowing students to bring in 3 credits for tests and dual credits that are going to count towards classes for that core curriculum. That is not to say that all of the AP tests or IB tests that you've taken or dual credit classes won't count for credit at all. They will come in as credit, but they're just only allowing 3 classes to count towards that core curriculum. So as you guys are looking at that page, take note of that. Know that we will just allow that as you are coming in as a first year student looking into all of those different credit by examination and things like that as well. I am going to just look at the chat quickly and see if there is anything that I can answer quickly here, but I think Brandy is here with us, and I can turn it over to her and we will look into those questions afterwards. But thank you guys so much for being here. Brandy, take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing? It's a rainy afternoon here in Dallas, so wherever you are, I hope you are enjoying your afternoon. It's nice to have a little bit of moisture. I'm glad to be here today to share with you a little bit of information about the Cox Career Management Center. As Olivia said, I'm the director of BBA and MS Career Programs, and very excited to work with with students and tell you about some of the new things that we have ongoing for this year. First, I want to introduce you to my team. I can't do this alone, right? We have a great team in the Cox Career Management Center. Olivia, if you don't mind going to the next slide. And I want to be able to share with you a couple of things about the staff that are important. I think for our team, what a big takeaway is that all of us come from a corporate environment. And, I think that's when you're working with students who want to go in specific industries, the fact that we can bring some knowledge about those particular industries. We've worked in specific companies that are recruiting our students, so we can really share with you information about the culture, the corporate environment, and the day-to-day activities. My team is a great team of coaches. They're all certified career management coaches, and they bring a lot of expertise and knowledge to the students in our programs. Lori Barbosa is our accounting coach. She comes from KPMG. Dr. Rhea Horton is a PhD in counseling. She works with our finance students. And then Judy Umali Rajkumar works with our consulting interested students as well as our management students. She comes from an accounting background. I come from a human resources and recruiting background, spent a lot of time on campuses recruiting college students, and I work directly with our general business, our newly entered freshman class, as well as marketing interested students. Go ahead. So what do we do? Oh, whoops. So what do we do at a high level, right? I want to go through kind of our cycle. Our goal, especially now that we get to work with freshmen more, that we're admitting freshmen, is we're going to help you identify the right path. We're going to do this through research, and that's what I'm working on with the class, is identifying the resources available to you where you can do research on different career paths, different majors. What are the expectations of the employers that you're interested in, and how do you, build those specific strengths around, what those employers' expectations. We have a couple of different assessments that we do with students to help you identify a major and career path. We're going to facilitate connections. So there's a lot of things that we do on campus, even virtually right now. I feel like we haven't slowed down at all in the virtual format. In fact, we have an event. We had mock interviews today, virtual mock interviews for all undergrad students. They were able to interview one-on-one with employers to practice. We have a consulting career connections event tomorrow night, which is a networking event that we typically do in person, but we've been able to move it to a virtual format. We have over 17 consulting firms coming to engage with all of our programs. So we are going to facilitate plenty of connections and opportunities, whether it be virtual or in person, for you to connect with the right employers And as you can see, we're only 3 weeks in, and these employers are already wanting to connect with our students. We're going to help you showcase your skills. So, one of the things that we're going to do, and we do really well, is help you with your branding materials. So you're in it with us. We're going to help you with your resume, your cover letter, your networking materials to ensure that you're ready to make a good connection and an amazing first impression during those connections events. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to help you execute a really good job search, or we want you to execute the job search process, the internship search process really well, because we want you to be successful. Go ahead, Olivia. So diving down a little deeper into how we do all these things and what we offer is here on this slide. So giving you a kind of an opportunity to see, we are in the classroom, which I think is important for you to know. Not all career centers and other schools have an actual academic requirement when it comes to career. And so we're able to get in front of you early on and work with you through the career search process, getting ready for recruitment very early, because it does happen a lot quicker than you expect. One-on-one coaching, we've been able to manage our one-on-one relationship with students over their time here. We start working with students very early. They connect with a career coach, and the coach really walks them through the process over their 4 years. Recruiting portal. We have a great system for on-campus recruiting. Over 800 schools use this system. Thousands and thousands of employers, all of the top Fortune 500 are in here recruiting students from schools, and SMU is one of those. So it's a great resource. We're going to prepare you for all types of recruiting. So we bring in outside vendors to help you with your technical interview prep, your case interview prep. We want to make sure that you're not just hearing it from us, but you're getting some outside help when it comes to really standing out in the interview process. We work with our peers. You heard from a couple of our peer coaches on the panel. They're amazing. They're going to help you. They're here to support you. We also have a very robust mentor program. So what I think has been great about the virtual mentor program this year is we've actually had mentors from New York and California and even other countries who've been able to engage with our students. But typically just being in Dallas itself is just an amazing location to engage with our alums and the corporate community. We have so many people knocking on our door wanting to engage with students through mentoring programs or just development events, connections events. So it's a great place to choose to come to school, because Dallas is just an amazing city to be for corporate engagement. I'll let you read through some of the others. I mean, we're going to engage. We're going to bring lots of people on campus. We just do a lot that you can engage with on campus when it comes to recruiting and career development. Go ahead, Olivia. All right, so at the end of the day, all of the things that I spoke to you about are ultimately to help you have success in the career process. You know, our goal and what we do this for is to hopefully create very successful alumni out in the world and to strengthen the SMU Cox brand. You know, that's our job. That's how we determine success in our office. And we're going to do that by helping you along the way with all that I just spoke about, from identifying your career path all the way to negotiating those job offers at the end of the day. And as you can see, we try to do a pretty good job at that. We don't consider ourselves a placement office, but we do place students, and we want to share with you kind of the outcomes of some of that programming creates. These are our current numbers for for our 2020 grads. They're not finalized just yet. We're still finishing up with the reporting season, but currently right now we're at a 91% off the market rate, which means 91% of our 2020 grads either accepted a job or decided to pursue graduate school. We place a lot of students in internships throughout their program. Internships are going to be key to any student's success in the recruitment process. And you'll see most of our students do at least one, if not 2 or 3 internships before they graduate. Right now, 91% reported that they did an internship before graduation. And currently right now, our average salary is sitting at $67K, which is just a little bit up from last year. But we're excited about that. It's a great starting salary and very competitive for our undergrad students. And then last but not least is I want to show you just a slide with some of our top recruiting partners, just so you kind of know the types of companies that, and this is definitely not the full list, but some of the biggest corporate partners that we have. All of these companies have designated SMU, especially Cox Student, as a target school. So they come to campus and engage with our students a lot, and ultimately take on and recruit a lot of our students in the different career paths that they have open. So I wanted to kind of leave you with that. And that's me at the end of the day, and have really enjoyed talking with you today. I'm here to answer any questions you might have if there's time.
Randy, thank you so much. That was great information. I think you outlined how well you work with our students very, very well. And I hope all of the students on the Zoom today, all our attendees, were able to see how they can start working with you right away as first-year students. There was some questions that popped up in the chat about, do they go through your office for internships, and can they start working with you right away as first-year students? Can you talk a little bit about how you get students started in their very first, even couple of weeks here?
No, that's great. So this exciting thing is all freshmen are required to take a business discovery course. And so I have been lucky enough to be in that course for the last 2 weeks, which is the first couple of weeks on campus. And in that course, we've spoken about career resources. So I've been able to introduce the Career Management Center and all of the resources available to them early on. They have complete access to our resources through Handshake. I've already seen a lot of freshmen come into our office to do exploration appointments, resume review appointments. Freshmen have already been able to attend some of our networking events, and not to be intimidated or anything. We just want them to go in and listen to learn about different companies recruiting. And then this week, we've talked about resume and cover letter. So we're already starting to work very early on your branding documents, because you will be using that resume very soon. So we want to make sure you have a good resume. It's in the Cox format. So when you're ready to start applying for experiential learning opportunities, leadership conferences, organizations, or any early internship opportunities, we want to make sure that you've got the SMU Cox format resume, and that you've had some coaching and you can do really well in those early interviews. So we're here to help you starting day one. As soon as you step onto campus, I think, in fact, we were even engaging with students over the summer. We sent out a video to talk about the Career Center. We sent out some resources. So before you even step on campus, you're going to be engaging with career. You're going to be sick of me senior year, I promise you, but we're going to be celebrating the offer at the end of the day.
It's a great day, and it's always a lot of fun.
Favorite day.
Brandy, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to stick around.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning of our program that we'd be leaving some time for Q&A at the end of the program, and I've seen a lot of questions come through on the chat, and I've started addressing some of those now. And if you have any more, please feel free to put them in the chat for me or Heather, or Olivia, or Brandy, any of us, and we'll do our best to answer them. So one of the first questions that I saw that came through that hasn't been answered, I feel like a lot of them have been answered. So if I skip over yours and you still want to ask, just let me know and I'll try to answer it. Well, someone asked about their high school accounting class and whether or not that would transfer in. The answer is most likely, as long as it was a dual credit class and you took it for college credit through a college or university where you got accounting credit for it. The way dual credit transfers in is you submit your course description and syllabus to the university registrar. The university registrar determines, based on that information, whether or not we teach an equivalent class, and if we do, then we give you credit for it. I would assume that the classes you're talking about are Intro to Financial and Intro to Managerial Accounting, and in which case those classes would probably transfer. I have seen occasionally a student submit a dual credit class that is a combination of financial and managerial accounting, and we don't teach that class, so that one wouldn't. So the answer is probably, but we'll need to see a course description and a syllabus. There was a question about study abroad and internships, and I'm really glad this question was asked, because one thing we haven't touched on too much today is our study abroad programs in the Cox School. We love study abroad in the Cox School. Almost half of our students go abroad, and we'd love to get that number up to 100% if we possibly could. We think having an international experience is a really vital part of your undergraduate education. We have created in the Cox School with some of our partners abroad over the last several years, 5 different international internship programs just for Cox students. We have one in London, one in Dublin, Sydney, Australia, Prague, Barcelona, and I feel like I'm missing one. I think I got them all. They're great programs where students go for 8 weeks over the summer and they do an internship at those international sites. And in at least one of those programs, you're also taking a Cox class. A great time to do that is the summer between sophomore and junior year, just to get that experience. But the Cox School's general philosophy on study abroad is we don't really care where you go or what you study while you're there. Just go and have an incredible experience and grow as a person and become an international citizen. We think that is just as important as the classes you take while you're abroad. I don't care if you study marketing in Madrid or finance in London. It's great if you do, but if you want to go to Florence and study art for a semester, from a business school perspective, that adds just as much to your life experience and it makes you just as employable as anything else. So if you can fit business classes in, great. But if you want to go somewhere where we don't teach those classes, don't stress about it. But we have great summer programs that are just for Cox students to do internships. There was a question about majoring in marketing and minoring in real estate. Can you do that? We don't have minors in the Cox School in our individual subjects. We have one general business minor that's only open to non-business majors. So in the Cox School, you get one business major, or you can minor in general business. So you could pursue marketing as your major. Now, the real estate program is an interesting kind of twist to that question, because as I mentioned earlier, we have a real estate major, but we also have a real estate concentration, which is kind of like a minor. It's just a little smaller. A minor is usually 6 to 8 classes, and our concentrations are 4 classes. So you could study both real estate and marketing, but one wouldn't be a minor. But you'll pick one major in the Cox School, and then we would encourage you to double major or minor outside of the Cox School. There was a question about if you want to study business analytics and supply chain management, do you need to be comfortable with coding and already have those languages like R and Python to do well in that program? No, you do not. In fact, we'll teach you those coding languages and all of the programs that you'll need to be successful. In fact, that will be a part of the curriculum. We expect you to come in and learn that, and then in probably your sophomore, junior year, and then in senior year, be able to use those programs to apply that knowledge to real world projects. So don't be intimidated if you don't already know a coding language. We'll teach you those when you're here. There's been a couple questions about business fraternities, which might have thrown some people off. SMU does have a traditional Greek system with fraternities and sororities, but we also do have 2 business fraternities in the Cox School that are co-ed. And they're both wonderful organizations, Alpha Kappa Psi and Delta Sigma Pi. They're both great organizations that do a lot of professional development. They do a lot of social events too, and they're a very active part of our campus. You can start recruitment for those as soon as you get here, all 4 years. Students are a part of those. There's a lot of networking that goes along there. There's a lot of programming and workshop. Students use it as an extracurricular activity where they really get a lot out of. They're both wonderful organizations. They will both tell you they're the best organization on campus. From our perspective, we really like both of them and really enjoy the sort of different personalities they both bring. And when you get to the university, you'll be able to look at both of those, and they accept business majors as well as econ majors if you're interested in Dedman College majoring in econ. There's a question about how difficult is it to transfer in through the internal transfer process. If you're not admitted to the Cox School as a first-year student, you can apply in the spring of your first year for admission into the business school in your second year. How competitive that will be based entirely on the applicant pool. We assume that we will have roughly 50 spots available. So if we get 100 students that apply, we'll have an acceptance rate of about 50%. But we assume that it will be fairly competitive. You have to have at least a 3.5 GPA to apply. And you have to have a 3.5 GPA to apply, which is in the spring, like March or April when the application goes live. And then admission decisions will be made in May after your spring grades come out. And so you have to maintain that 3.5 in the spring as well. Once you've hit that 3.5 cutoff though, the GPA becomes much less important. We've got a faculty committee that's going to review all applicants for it, and they're going to be looking at not just your grades, but what classes you took while you're here and how you got involved on campus. What is it that you're going to be bringing to the Cox School? What unique perspectives do you have? What interesting life experiences did you have? How much of a leader have you been on campus, and what is your potential here? It's not to say that a 4.0 student would be better than someone with a 3.5. Once you've hit that cutoff, it becomes a very holistic review process. Someone asked a question about if I'm admitted into the business analytics and supply chain management major, can I then switch to accounting? No one is actually admitted to a specific major. Students are admitted to the Cox School, and then you can pick any major you want once you've had the prerequisites for it. So if you're interested in business analytics, supply chain management, and you get to the university and decide, no, that's not for me, I'm accounting or management or marketing, then please feel free to move over to that major. And every student gets the opportunity to work with our great academic advisors every semester to make sure that you're on track to graduate in 4 years and to make sure that you can fit all of these interests into your 4-year plan. So it's relatively easy to switch majors as long as you're doing it early enough to where you can still fit all the curriculum in 4 years. Heather, Olivia, Brandy, have I missed anything in the chat? That other questions that might have come in before we adjourn for the day?
Some students are asking about what will the credits count towards outside of those 3 classes just for the core curriculum. For instance, if a student was bringing in, 6 different AP tests and, only 3 of them get to count for core classes, what do those other credits go towards?
Those count towards just general elective credit. So at the university, to graduate, you have to fulfill all the credits required for your major, plus you have to satisfy what's called the common curriculum, which is our general education program here. But then for almost every student, there's 30 to 45 credit hours of just general elective credit that you have to take. And so those classes would count towards the general elective credit. Have I missed any other questions? Anybody else have any final questions before we adjourn for the day?
Jim, I also just want to mention out loud, if it's okay, we are recording this, so we will send this out to all of you if you wanted to, share with your parents, or if for some reason you weren't able to stay on for the whole time. Wi-Fi cut in and out. I got a couple messages about that. This is recorded, so you'll be able to watch this again.
And Olivia, will you also be sending a survey out to the students about this?
Yes, so we'll be sending out a survey. Usually it's within about 48 hours.
Well, let us know how we did, and if you have any suggestions. We're going to do another one of these programs later on. And if there's any way that you think we can change it for the better, we'd love to hear about that. Here's a question that's just come through. Are there any programs designed for women in business mentorships? Brandy, you have done a wonderful job with the business mentor program, and I know you've been involved with the Women in Business group. Do you want to take that one?
Sure. We actually have a Women in Business program or group organization that you can join. And we do a lot of mentoring with upperclassmen through that program, a lot of employer engagement just for women across all majors in business. We have a BBA Mentor Alliance program where I have a lot of professional women and alums who want to come and match with a female student and work with them for a full academic year. We're working with the Girls Who Invest program to increase their awareness on campus. So there's a lot of opportunity for women in business to gain mentorship on campus. And so feel free to reach out to me if you have any specific questions about that. But short answer to that is yes, there's lots of great opportunities for you to connect with strong female leadership and mentors.
Great. Thank you, Brandy. That was great information. Also want to give a huge thanks to Heather Clifton and Olivia Trevino, who you heard from earlier, who set this entire program up from beginning to end. We wouldn't be doing it all without them. They told me just to show up, and that's pretty much what I did. So thank you guys for making this happen. I want to thank all of our students and any parents that logged on, or any parents that are watching over their student's head without appearing on screen. We're really glad that you guys came today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. Of course, there are questions that we didn't answer. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address and phone number is on the screen in front of you. You can always reach out to us. And if you have anything else, please, please, please let us know. You guys have a wonderful senior year. If you're juniors, have a wonderful junior year. We look forward to reading your applications. And as soon as we can get huge groups of students back on campus, I can't wait for you to all come see our beautiful tree-lined campus. It really is a special place if you haven't been here. We look forward to meeting all of you in person. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.